pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We thank you this day. We ask you to help us to make the right decisions for our city and citizens. Most of all, let us remember the baby Jesus in the manger. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
I'd like to call this evening's meeting of the Jackson City Council to order. Before roll call, I would like to thank Mr. Peters for filling in for the chair on the meeting on the 9th. So we'll begin with roll call. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Here.
Colby. Peters.
Here.
Newkirk.
Here.
Crabtree.
Here.
Bob.
Here. Next on the agenda is recognitions. Mayor, do you have any recognitions for this evening?
None tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think we had anyone sign up to speak this evening. So next we will look at the approval of the minutes that were in each of your packets for the December the 9th meeting. Are there any objections or corrections to the minutes as presented to council? We have a motion to accept the minutes as presented to council. Mr. Elliott, is there a second? Ms. Colby? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Next, we'll have committee reports. We'll begin with the Utility Committee. Mr. Newkirk.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Newkirk. Budget and Finance, Ms. Colby.
No report.
Thank you, Ms. Colby. Police, Fire, and Traffic, Mr. Foster.
Sorry, didn't know report.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Service, Mr. Peters.
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
Never silence that, I get it.
Auditor's report, Mr. Reed.
We're on the last reading of the budget tonight. I've gotten no questions on it. The only thing that goes kind of with that, ordinance number 74 is reduction. And it's just a reduction to make it match up, so that needs to pass along with the budget. So ordinance number 72 and 24 is just a reduction in current. Okay, that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Kirby.
I have no report.
Mr. Kirby. Chief Hinch.
No report, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor Evans.
Just a couple of things to report on. One of the projects, that 93 South Water Line project, where we extended that, and we're able to, with that grant money, extend the water line down Anderson and part of Florence to a project we'd hoped to have done for a long time. We're able to use some of this financing for that. Those water lines, those water mains are in now. They're still hooking up services, doing reconnects. And then there'll be a lot of cleanup work as the weather allows. Obviously, some of that work will have to wait till spring, some of the final cleanup and reseeding and repairing the sidewalks and driveways. But that job is coming along nicely, especially considering this time of year. Later in your resolutions there, we do have you'll see one for the income tax language ballot. We successfully, working with Mr. Kirby, were able to change that to where it specifies it's a continuation of the existing income tax, so I think that will be helpful. We think that was one of the big confusion items on it there this last time it ran. And then there's two personnel items that regretfully I have to give you tonight. Of course, tonight, I think y'all know, was H.D. Crabtree's last meeting on council. I'm sure he'll have something to say for that by the end. But we hate to lose him. He is moving outside the city, so we don't have a lot of choice there. So that'll be an opening for council in Ward 3. So if anyone is interested or knows of someone who's interested maybe in serving in that position, have them reach out to me or reach out whoever they want to figure out what they need to do there. Hopefully we'll be able to get that filled early next year. Of course, I want to thank Mr. Crabtree for his service. He's been a good councilman. We wish we could just keep you here, HD. And also, our fire chief, Dave Channel, has asked for a leave of absence that we'll be granting for him beginning the day after Christmas. So we'll be making some changes there. We'll move Assistant Fire Chief Hickey up to be interim fire chief And then we'll begin tomorrow looking how to fill the other positions there in the fire department. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Questions for the mayor and council? Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Schweikhammer.
Yes, projects are definitely slowing down this time of year. We do have garbage pickup on Thursday the next 2 weeks because of the holidays being on Monday. It's posted, but we're still getting phone calls, so hopefully people will get used to us. Mondays, usually one day after on Mondays and during the week, except for Fridays. Fridays will go the day before. I really don't have much more now unless there's any questions from council.
I don't, but I have just one question. We're off on Wednesday, so garbage pickup would be Thursday.
Correct.
I thought you said Monday.
Mondays through Thursdays, we do the day after. Fridays, we do the day before.
So Wednesdays will be Thursday.
Correct.
Correct. Thanks. Sorry about that. Any questions for the service director?
Mr. President, on Gate Street, I have something, ran a line or something towards Manpower, what?
Gay Street?
Yeah. Is that a water line or?
Yeah, we replaced an old water line there, and then we extended it a little farther than it had been before, and they've still got some reclamation work to do there too.
Yeah,
What's the line for for the park?
no, it actually went to the house across, it dead-ended there, and it went to the house across, on the other side. We never had water on that side of the park, so we went ahead and put it down there, and we put a flush hydrant down there so that you wouldn't have the chlorine backup and so forth right there at the residence.
So those lots are commercial, they're for sale, but they're listed as commercial lots. Are those, is that where the water's gonna come from there, or is it gonna come from somewhere else? I just had some people ask me that, or like, they thought maybe someone was purchasing that property.
Yeah, no,
The water line.
the size of line we put in there, if somebody, there's a home there right now, if somebody was to buy that and live there, that's a line they'd be tied into. It's an oversized line compared to what it was.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions for the service director? Thank you, Mr. Schweikhammer. We will move into the ordinance and resolution portion of our meeting. We will begin with ordinance on third reading. Our first one will be ordinance 5324. Ms. Coon?
An ordinance repealing and amending the City of Jackson's codified ordinance sections 133.01 and 133.04 regarding firefighter personnel training and compensation.
Is there discussion? Mr. Peters?
There was some discussion amongst a few of us to table this. And give me a few minutes to come back to that. I don't really have a lot of problem with creating these positions. This has nothing to do, because I've had other people reach out to me, this has nothing to do with that Buckeye Hills contract for training. Nothing to do with it, completely unrelated. Back to the minimum qualifications. So, said this many, many times so far through the readings of this. Education does matter in a life or death situation. The minimum required, if we look at the training under D, which was provided to us, minimum required is volunteer firefighter, 36 hours of training completed. However, there are two other classifications for firefighters. There's a firefighter 1, which is 120 hours, and then there's a firefighter 2, which makes you a professional. There are people on the fire department that are firefighter 2 classified, which means if they wanted to and they meet the age requirement and height and weight or whatever, they could go around to any city in Ohio and take a test, a civil service test, to be on a fire department in any city in Ohio. So I'm circling back to this for the qualifications for education. So civil service is, that's built in to protect police and fire from being involved in political issues. So, someone's the mayor and the fire chief, they don't like him, or they don't like the police chief, and they just want to come in and say, you don't work here anymore. Well, they have protection from political stuff. These positions that we're creating here, none of that takes into effect for any of them. So I'll say this, if you're a firefighter too, and you want to apply for a job in Ohio, and you go to another city, you take a civil service test. Civil service test is gonna give you extra points on the test for what? For education, for other service. If you're in the military, you get points. If you have a bachelor's degree, you can get points. If you have other jobs, you can get extra points for. So education in civil service really does matter, because lots of times, say Mr. Elliott and I are applying for the same job. We scored the same on the test. Well, Mr. Elliott has a bachelor's degree, and he served in the military, and he did all these other things that I didn't do. So he gets extra points for that. So he's gonna get picked for that spot because he has more experience in a higher education. Went through the same training. Education matters in leadership. Education matters in public service. Last meeting, Mr. Swackhammer said that education didn't equate to leadership. Fine. But you can spin it around and say it the other way, and it's the same thing. We shouldn't pass this to allow someone who's a volunteer fireman, 36 hours worth of training, to be in charge of an incident. Now, granted, a volunteer fireman with experience can be in charge until they're relieved by someone who has more education and, a firefighter, a professional firefighter. So also into this, with the way that's written, that you must complete your firefighter 1 within 1 year, and then you have 3 years to get the 2. So we're gonna put someone in the position that, to this point, has not furthered any of their education. They're just a volunteer. They haven't taken upon any all this time. There's people in the fire department that have been on there for, I looked at the roster, like 15, 16 years, 8 years, and they don't have any additional training like this. Now that this opportunity has presented itself, now everybody wants to get firefighter 1, firefighter 2. I don't like this. This allows 3 people to pick those people that are going to fill these positions: captain, first, second lieutenant. It's 3 people. It's the chief, the assistant chief, and the service director. Civil service is built to stop the buddy system. This is a buddy system. I don't care what anyone says. You can't change my mind on it. The reason why those types of jobs are classified for civil service is because of this. This is what they're trying to avoid. We should not pass this like this. If we pass this like this, then we all fall off the face of the earth tomorrow. It may never change. We're sitting here to try to make things better. This is not making anything better. The fire department's been there for 150 years probably of Jackson being up, and they've operated basically the same way they're operating right now for 150 years. And all of a sudden, we need to fix it, and we gotta fix it quick. No, we don't. The fire department will operate just fine. I would like to table this, because I would like this to go back to committee, which it jumped over. So we just allowed this, we accepted this, and it never even went to committee. So there's didn't even see any ayes until first reading, especially for the public. So I say we table it, and I say we send it back to committee and hash this stuff out. We still haven't answered any of the questions about city employees leaving. Last meeting, the chief was here, he didn't say anything. He didn't say a word. He didn't say a word during discussion. The chief, he's the guy in charge. He didn't say a word. Mr. Moore told us about clocking in and clocking out, and I know that I asked 100 times about a time clock. That doesn't make, there's a time clock, but it's not used. So the information that was provided to us, which is on the record, wasn't accurate. It's not accurate. It kind of is, but it's not. The other problem with that is the time is being edited, meaning after the fact. That's a slippery slope. That's punishable in Ohio, like stealing money from, excuse me, public office. I can't be the only person to have an opinion, because other people have talked to me. It's our job to make sure we do the right thing here. So we can just get in line. We voted this unanimously down when they were trying to reorganize it before, and then everybody swung back around and passed it for whatever reason. The policy and procedure book, in my opinion, needs to be professionally written. We need to hire someone to write it. We pay all these consultants for everything else, but for some reason in this situation, for the Jackson Volunteer Fire Department at this point, we haven't done it. We took a whole bunch of stuff, came to committee for a while here at council, and then it went away. Because after the fact, they realized, well, we don't need council's approval to do any of this for changing it into volunteer status. They bypassed council. They created the manual, which they had every right to do. But the checks and balances portion of this, that's not working. That's what we're here for. I'm for tabling it. I don't know how everyone else feels. I don't hate the idea of officers, but I do hate the idea of the criteria that you're choosing them from. The qualifications and requirements are very low standard, in my opinion. And, on top of it, it's not dire. We've operated without it. Get more input, have a higher standard than what we currently have. We've set roster requirements for the, for the police department by ordinance. Mr. Hinch has to follow those guidelines. He can't have any extra people. We said it. We said it because we were trying to do the right thing in the taxpayer's eyes at the time. Because a lot of the buzz and stuff before the tax passed the first time was, oh, well, I think that they spend too much money, they have too many officers. So he has taken what we gave them, and look what they're doing. Look what he's done. I mean, he took a department that lost almost everybody because they didn't know if the tax was going to pass the first time, and he's built it back with younger, in my opinion, better people. Let's do the same thing here. I move to table this ordinance. Hopefully someone can stand up and second it.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Colby. Under Robert's rule, there is no discussion in regards to this, so we'll go right into a vote. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
What are we voting for?
To table the ordinance or not?
To table it? No. Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Bach.
No.
The ordinance is tabled. Next, ordinance 5624.
An ordinance establishing appropriations for the year 2025 beginning January 1st, 2025 and through December 31st, 2025 and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Swackhammer.
It's third reading on the budget, and we do need to have it passed, and that's what we're going to have additional meetings yet this month.
Mr. President, just one question. I had this written down last time. I'm sorry I didn't ask. I noticed that the council budget increased for operations and maintenance. from $34,800 to $72,564 for year over year. That's a pretty significant increase. What's that for?
The budget comes from council to me, I don't change it.
I don't have operations and maintenance. Let me look at it.
I know last year that we talked about getting some technology, so I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
Well, those are possibilities, yes. I mean, we kind of carried them over, but I will say that as council president, I did make a request
Okay.
for that increase.
Thank you.
Other discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster?
Yes.
Elliott?
Yes.
Colby? Yes. Peters?
Yes.
Newkirk?
Yes.
Crabtree?
Yes.
Bach?
Ordinance 5624 is duly adopted. Next for council consideration, third reading, ordinance 5924. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance restricting panhandling within the city in accordance with the newly created Chapter 729 of the codified ordinances of the city of Jackson.
Discussion. Ms. Kuhn?
Foster?
Yes.
Elliott?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Newkirk?
Yes.
Crabtree?
Yes.
Bach?
Ordinance 5924 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, ordinance 6024. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance prohibiting camping upon public property within the city in accordance with a newly created section to the codified ordinances of the city of Jackson.
Discussion. Ms. Kuhn?
Foster?
Yes.
Elliott?
Yes.
Colby? Yes. Peters?
Yes.
Newkirk?
Yes.
Crabtree?
Yes.
Bach?
Ordinance 6024 is duly adopted. Next, council consideration, second reading, ordinance 7024. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance repealing and amending the city of Jackson's codified ordinance section 945.06 garbage containers.
Discussion? Hearing none, this will serve as a second reading of ordinance 7024. Next, for council consideration, second reading, ordinance 7124. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance repealing and amending the city of Jackson's codified ordinance sections 351.11, 355.01, and 355.99 regulating parking in congested district and municipal lots for parking.
Discussion? Hearing none, this constitutes the second reading of ordinance 7124. Ordinance on first reading, ordinance 7324. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance enacting and continuing the current income tax at the rate of 1.5% for the purpose of street and sidewalk repairs and/or replacement, and for maintenance or construction of other city infrastructure, the demolition of unsafe buildings and general operations and services of the city, including funding the operations of the police department and fire department for a continuing period commencing January 1st, 2026, and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 7324 as presented to council, Mr. Peters? Is there a second? Mr. Elliott? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Discussion. Mayor Evans?
That's just the ordinance to put the income tax back on the May ballot. And you can read the very first sentence there about where Joe was successful in making it read better to where it is for the continuing the current income tax.
Other discussion? President?
I move we suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules?
I'll second.
Second? Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster?
Yes.
Elliott?
Yes.
Colby? Yes. Peters?
Yes.
Newkirk?
Yes.
Crabtree?
Yes.
Bach?
Further discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster?
Yes.
Elliott?
Yes.
Colby? Yes. Peters?
Yes.
Newkirk?
Yes.
Crabtree?
Yes.
Bach?
Yes.
Ordinance 7324 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, first reading, ordinance 7424. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance reducing appropriations in the South Water Line Project Fund and declaring an emergency.
Could I get a motion to adopt ordinance 7424 as presented to council? Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Bob. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. I believe this is what Mr. Reed was speaking about in need for the budget. Is that correct, Mr. Reed?
Yes, this just reduce the amount of money coming in as far as revenue for that fund for this year to take it to zero.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Mr. President, I'll move to suspend the rules.
Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Newkirk. Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Peters. Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Bach.
Further discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Bach.
Ordinance 7424 is duly adopted. Next for council consideration, first reading, ordinance 7524. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance repealing and amending ordinance 28-21 to set salary and rate of pay for council clerk and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 7524 as presented to council? Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. In discussion, I'll take the discussion to start with. Basically, this is compensation for Ms. Kuhn, and to bring her up, what we feel is compensatory to other clerk salaries within the county.
Mr. President, I'll move to suspend the rules so we can get her pay set for January.
Second, Mr. Newkirk. Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Bach.
Further discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Bach.
Ordinance 7524 is duly adopted. This concludes our area of ordinances. We will now move into the resolutions portion, and beginning with Resolution 5724, first reading. Ms. Kuhn?
A resolution calling for the placement on the ballot of the next primary election in the city of Jackson, Ohio, the issue of continuing the existing income tax ending on December 31st, 2025, at the rate of 1.5% for the purpose of street and sidewalk repairs and/or replacement, and for maintenance or construction of other city infrastructure, the demolition of unsafe buildings and general operations and services of the city, including funding the operations of the police department and fire department for a continuing period commencing January 1st, 2026, and declaring an emergency.
I have a motion to adopt Resolution 5724 is presented to council. Mr. Bob, second by Mr. Peters. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Discussion. Mayor Evans.
This is the resolution to put the income tax actually on the ballot.
Other discussion.
Mr. President, I'll move to suspend the rules so we can move forward.
Peters. Second by Mr. Newkirk. Other discussion. Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Bach.
Other discussion. Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Crabtree.
Yes.
Bach.
Resolution 5724 passes. Is adopted. Next, Resolution 5824. Ms. Kuhn?
A resolution of the legislative authority of the city of Jackson, Ohio, approving second change order with BP Pipeline LLC and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 5824 as presented to council? Mr. Peters, is there a second? Ms. Colby, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Discussion. Mr. Swikammer.
Yes, I don't have the updated one, Cindy. Is the number correct at 4170?
$4,174.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that. This is the South Street EDA project. This was the last change order that came in from BP Pipeline through DLZ, or the engineering of record, and that is the difference. We are still well below the funding that was provided to us.
Thank you, Mr. Swikammer. Further discussion?
Question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Elliott.
So this is 130,000?
No, it's $4,174. I sent council an email and just forgot to get the actual resolution for you.
Be corrected on section 1, too. I think
I have it all. I've got it corrected on the original that will be
I'll
filed.
move to make the corrections so the numbers match on the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Elliott, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
Mr. President, I'll move to suspend the rules.
I second that.
Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Crabtree. Bach.
Further discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Bach.
Our final resolution for the evening is Resolution 5924, first reading. Ms. Kuhn?
A resolution authorizing expenditure of funds for payment to Brian Davis Trucking LLC pursuant to a then and now certificate in the amount of $12,692.67 and declaring an emergency.
Could I get a motion to adopt Resolution 5924 as presented to council? Ms. Colby? Mr. Elliott, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion, Mr. Reed.
This happens when somebody orders something and doesn't have a PO in place. So, Something was ordered, wasn't a PO in place, so anything over $3,000 has to come to council for approval.
If I can also add to that, the PO that was attached to that was determined it was from the wrong department. That's why we had to go back and create the funds from the right department. It's not an increase in any of the budget, they used the wrong PO, pulled it from the wrong line item.
Thank you, Mr. Schweikhammer.
Just one quick question.
Mr. Pierce?
Says for street, is this just gravel? Gravel?
Yeah, there's three different sizes, I believe. There are 57s, 1 inch, and I think I saw one other size when there's some D-rock.
Any further action be taken on this?
I move to suspend the rules to pay our bill.
Second by Mr. Newkirk. Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott. Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree. Bach.
Further discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster. Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Bach.
Resolution 5924 is duly adopted. That concludes our ordinance and resolution portion for the evening. I want to thank council for their work. On our agenda next is correspondence. I think it was a liquor license transfer, Ms. Kuhn.
Yes, it's a request for whether we want to request a hearing. It is a transfer of Jerry's Jamestown Market to an RJR Enterprises. Just need a motion as to whether or not you want to request a hearing.
Motion, is there someone who wants to make a motion whether or not they want to have a hearing on it?
I'll move to waive the hearing.
Is there a second? Mr. Newkirk, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next, under old business, is there any old business to be brought before council? Hearing none, we'll move to new business.
Oh, wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
Oh, business. I don't know if this is the proper time or not. I did reach out to Buckeye Hills. They're working on the verbiage for liability to add to that contract. They expect to have it shortly after they return from the holiday.
Thank you, Mr. Schweikhammer. Anything else in old business? New business, Mr. Elliott?
We had a Board of Zoning Appeal meeting. 2 variances were granted at 26 North High and 14981 East Main Street.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Do we need to schedule? I think
And the
we-
Planning Commission meeting.
So which should be first, Ms. Kuhn?
What did we discuss? The zoning first?
Pardon?
Did we discuss doing the zoning first?
Yeah, I think the zoning, I think that'll be
6:15.
cleaner. And then the planning may need a little bit of conversation, but
So January 13th at 6:15 for zoning. with
and
planning
Ms. Kuhn,
commission.
you've got all the documentation to send out, right? Okay.
So that date, Ms. Kuhn, would be what?
the 13th, I believe, January 13th.
Right, so the time on that was
6:15 for the zoning and planning commission will follow.
6:15.
So you don't need zoning appeals?
Yes, zoning appeals will be at 6:15.
Well, zoning appeals?
Yeah, Board of Zoning Appeals at 6:15.
Close those at 6:15.
Yeah, and then the planning commission committee will follow. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other new business to be brought before council?
Mr. President, I just want to say a couple words. I just want to thank everybody on council. When I was appointed, that was definitely something that was probably outside of my comfort bubble. Not normally something that I would typically do, but in so many ways, I'm really happy that I did do it. Obviously, we've had a lot of good times on council. We've had some contested times. I've enjoyed all of it. I feel like it's an efficient council. I feel like we're all pulling in the same direction. It's hard to believe that 3 years, at least for me, it's hard to believe that 3 years went by that fast. It really flew by, but at some point over that time, each and every one of you have helped me specifically and individually, and I appreciate that. And, like all of you, I was really disappointed when our income tax didn't go through. And even though I moved out of the city, my new residence is just outside the city. I'm very much, attached to the city. It's where I work. You can count on me to be out there to be an advocate because I've seen the improvement and obviously something that we really need. So just want to say thanks. Thank you.
Well, from the chair's perspective, Mr. Crabtree, we certainly hate to see you go. I think you've done a great job, and I echo the sentiment that we've enjoyed serving together, working together. I mean, it is amazing once you get in this role of council, the intricacy that's involved in it. When you basically are at what I would say the 20,000 square foot view from above and look at all of it, you really don't have the appreciation of what the council does and the work that's going into it and the depth of study that goes into a lot of things, but you will be missed. So I hate to see you go. I would also like to just put this date out. Also on February the 10th, Tracy Plants has asked if she could have the council for their meeting. I think it's at 4 o'clock. And I'm sorry, Mr. Schweikhammer, I don't know the official name of that committee.
Hang on a second here, I've got it in my calendar. It's a recreation committee is what it's for. And you say she only asked for February the 10th?
That was in an email to me on that date on February the 10th is what I had written down, 4 o'clock. Do you have another date that?
I had the 27th at 4 o'clock for Parks and Recreation. That's it's a one the city participates in. It's a much larger group than just those of the city that is working on developing a long-term plan for the county of Jackson.
I will look again for that. I might have missed that. This is the only date that I saw, but we have a meeting on the 23rd, so we can make that announcement at that meeting if the 27th, there's a need there also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else to be brought before council? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Colby? Mr. Newkirk? Oh, wait a minute, hold on.
Mr. Crabtree.
Mr. Crabtree, yeah, he's second. Sorry. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Standing adjourned.